Hello, everybody. I am Tristan Lee. I am a part of SC Red, and this is the LGBTQ edition of SC Red. I am here today with April Rain. April, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm April Ryan. I am 41 years old. I have sickle cell SS, and I am a proud member of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning. Oh, I forgot what the I is,
I got you.
and ally plus. So I am a lesbian. Um, and I've been dealing with sickle cell for 41 years.
Wow. Well, thank you guys. So, as the CEO of SC Red, I am really honored to bring Tristan and April onto this platform. We have had separate conversations about wanting to be more inclusive as an organization and also just the broader sickle cell community in general. So, I'm really happy that these two have joined us. And I think that it's going to be very informative for our followers and our listeners. So with that being said, Tristan, you didn't really introduce yourself. Tell us more about you, what you do, who you are.
So, like I said, my name is Tristan Lee. I am a 39-year-old sickle cell warrior with sickle cell disease type SS, and I am the G in the LGBTQIA community, which is gay. I hail from Williamsport, Pennsylvania, where I was born and raised. Of course, I've done a lot of traveling here, there, and everywhere, and have saw and seen a lot of your beautiful faces from the community. And I'm a fashion designer. I have a clothing line for sickle cell awareness. I also am a professional model. I also am an actor. I also do advocacy, and I also am now an author, which I just got published last year. So this is my 1-year anniversary of my book. I Have It, It Doesn't Have Me, which is my story of living well with sickle cell disease.
Amazing. And we have to talk offline because I would love to link your book to our resources page. But okay, so April, it was actually very reassuring for me to see you kind of trip up on the letters. And that's actually how I would like to start. So Tristan, can you tell us what all of the letters in LGBTQIA plus are and what they mean?
Sure, no problem. So LGBTQIA stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, and also asexual. So that's the LGBTQIA. When we say that in the lineup, like that's what every letter stands for, and every person in the under the umbrella falls into one of those identities. So that's what it is.
I don't know. So you said intersexual and asexual?
It's like intersex, and then asexual.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the I and the A. But like sometimes people just say LGBTQ.
Yeah.
And then it's the plus.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do the LGBTQIA, that's what all those break down to.
Okay, well, let's just jump right in and get super personal from the start. I want to hear, and I don't even know if this is appropriate terminology to use. Like we hear about coming out, and I've kind of heard that maybe that can be offensive because if you're straight, you don't have to come out. So I'm curious to know, how do you two feel about that terminology? And also, can you tell us a little bit more about how you told your family, how you told your friends, and what those reactions were?
Definitely. So I'll just say for myself, as far as the coming out terminology, for one, I don't take any kind of like offense or anything when people say that. Everybody has their own specific coming to terms in the community and presenting themselves to the community. So, I mean, if somebody says that, oh, I just came out, that's cool. If someone's like, I've been out, but I've been here, people don't like the whole closeted term, but sometimes that's just what it is. It depends on the person and how they, feel that their story leading up to the telling of everybody, belongs. So with me, for instance, like I actually knew from a very, very young age, actually, I was like in probably second grade, and I just knew, what I mean, that I was different. I knew that growing up and having to do the traditional marriage thing of like, having a wife and being the main provider and all that stuff, something I was like, not really, I was scared about it because I knew myself that I felt very sheltered and protected at that time. You know what I mean? So me having to like kind of be the man provider and all that stuff later in life for somebody, and my family like was so jarring. I was like, but I want to be the one who, what I mean, has that provider, what I mean, in my life. As I grew into that, I recognized how ignorant that was, because I was like, I'm a strong Black man, and that's just what it is. You know what I mean? I wake up like this every day. I've been this all my life. So Tristan back then was just thinking like, oh, I just want to be the more domicile one and like be care of and stuff. But I mean, I'm a movement by myself. Like me having my husband, you know what I mean, just adds to the power couple that I would have grown into being. But Tristan back then was just like seeing that society was like, okay, well, as a man, you're supposed to get a wife and you're supposed to protect your wife. You're supposed to have kids and protect your kids. So you're like the main one. And that just freaked me out. So, like I said, it was very ignorant of me to think like that, because as I grew into myself and became who I am today, I recognized that it's a balance. You know what I mean? Like marriage is like a salsa, you know what I mean? Like it's a give, a take, it's a dance, you know what I mean? Like we salsa in this beat. So you know what I mean? So like when I am strong, my husband is strong. And when I'm weak, he's strong. Or when he's weak, I'm strong. You know what I mean? But it's still salsa. So, but I say all that to say that my coming out was just like a journey, because I wanted people to understand that while I recognized what it was in myself, it was still for me, like I had to kind of ease people into my lifestyle and how I was going to live my life, and show them, especially my parents. It was like so frightening for me to when I did decide to come out, because I always thought that, my dad, may he rest in peace, was like this big, strong, strapping, masculine man. And I just knew that telling him, I've seen so many times where, gay and LGBTQ kids are disowned. And I did not want that, because me and my dad, we had a very strenuous relationship while I was a child, but we were growing into something. I didn't want my truth to sway that or let us not get to the point where we got to eventually. So that was a huge fear. So I kind of kept to myself, and I was kind of like drug out of the closet, if you want to be real. Because my mom, like, there was this show back in the day, it was called Queer as Folk. I don't know, April, you know it, but
I definitely know.
Yes, it came on Showtime, and it was like a certain time of night. I think it was like every Sunday at like 11. So I would go to my, you know what I mean? I would close the door, and I would just be in there like in my little zone, like watching, because I recognized my peoples. And I was like, yeah, that's it. And so one night I was up there chilling, it was like 15 minutes in, and they was getting down with the get down. Okay.
Yeah.
And my mom like came into the room, and she's looked at the TV, and she was like, "What are you watching?" And I just like freaked out, and I turned the TV off, and I was like, "Nothing." And so she turned it back on. She was like, "Tristan, are those two men kissing?" And you know what I mean? Like, is that what am I like? What's happening? And I'm just like, yo, it's late. Can we talk about this tomorrow? And she was like, we're gonna talk about this now. So it was kind of like her kind of pushing me out because she walked in on what she saw. Granted, it wasn't like anything like, oh,
right.
or whatever. Like it wasn't like nudity. It was just guys kissing. And she was like, oh, okay. And so the next day she took me to my grandmother's.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, so I think Tristan has something to tell us. And I just instantly burst into tears. And my grandmother, of course, embraced me because I was like, I'm her favorite. I hope my cousins don't watch this. But like, she embraced me. She was like, this is still Tristan. No matter what he has to tell us, it's still Tristan. And that's what we're going to recognize and treat him like from this point on. And so it took my mom a minute. Surprisingly, my mom was the one who kind of had a little struggle situation. But you guys knowing my mom,
I was just gonna say, I know your mom, so I can see the reaction, how she came, what is this? Like I can
right.
see.
And then at the same time, like knowing how close we are now, like I never would have thought that she would have been the one. But then when I told my dad, he was just like, yeah, I already knew, whatever. And I was like, oh, word? He was like, yeah, so you like guys? Like, and he just like had this way of joking. Like he would just make the most obscene jokes about like, the situation. And so it let me know that he was cool with it. And at the same time, it kind of gave us more of a connection, which we needed. You know what I mean? So that's always the main memory that I have of my coming out, or I like to say coming to age.
I like coming to age. And how old were you at the time?
At that time, I was a senior in high school, so I was 18.
Okay. And had you shared it with friends before your family or no?
No, nobody really. I mean, I had like a boyfriend, you know what I mean, like on the down low, but like we weren't out. So I didn't share it with anybody. So when my mom kind of discovered that, then it was like, all right, I'm just gonna be out with it. And from that point on, I was like, all right, my family knows, they're cool with it. The world be damned. This is what it is.
I love it. I love it. April, let's go to you. Same question. Like, tell us, when did you know? Because I think that's really interesting that Tristan said in second grade. So like what age do you feel like you knew?
I was around that same time, kindergarten, first grade. I'm not gonna say I knew then, but I knew I had an attraction to girls. At nap time, I think it's kindergarten, you're taking naps. I don't know if it's first grade. So at nap time, me and this girl, we would take our mats and put them behind the bookcase. And this specific spot, we had view of the door and view of the teacher. So as everyone's taking their naps, we're making out, we're kissing. And this went on the entire year. So I was like, okay, that's something different. But I had a very strict mother and very religious mother. I don't want to say Christian because I mean, I have my own personal views about Christians. But anyway, she was very religious and she brought me up into the church, and that was the teaching. That's wrong. Woman should not lay with woman, man shouldn't lay with man. You're going to hell. So I kind of suppressed it all these years, but the attraction was still there. I remember when Alicia Keys first came out. And at this time, my brother was still living. And I'm sitting there watching, I think it was either a video or a concert or something. And I was like, oh my God, she is so fine. Oh my God, I want her. And my brother looked at me and was like, "You're gay." And at the time, I was like, "No, I'm not. She's just an attractive woman, you know." And so he passed at the age of 15. And after that, I basically pretty much suppressed it. I still had the attraction to women. I had a pseudo boyfriend, and then I told everyone that he was my boyfriend, but it was a made up guy, just to cover. As I got older, get into high school, okay, I'm coming into, I'm dressing tomboyish. Still nothing, is happening. When I became an adult and went to college, that's basically when the stuff hit the fan. So I leave high school, and my high school friend and I, she's paralyzed from the waist down. We're still friends to this day. We go to Hot Night 2000. I'll never forget. 616 Marshall Street here in Memphis. And we go there, we go to the concert. I think it was, I forget the group, but there was a group over at Mud Island. And we leave the concert and go to the club, which is 616 Marshall Street, the spot. And I'm in there and we're just dancing, we're underage, but this is one of those clubs where, you getting drinks underage. Maybe when I tell you I had them walk me down and I was lit and I was feeling myself. Now, mind you, I'm more masculine. At this age in my life, I'm coming into my masculinity, but still feminine.
Okay.
So I'm in the club and I'm shaking that thing, girl. I'm throwing it back, right? So this dude comes up on me and he's dancing up on me and I'm dropping it and I'm doing my thing. So me and him, we started talking and whatnot. And I'm like this, okay, I feel like I like women, but I can't knock this until I try it.
Okay.
So I lost my virginity to this guy and it was horrible. I did not like it. I was like, this is not it. No. So after that, I got into college and I met the first girlfriend. She was much older than me and lost my lesbian virginity. And okay, so with the dude, I was like, ew, disgusting, and immediately had to get up and go take a shower. I just felt disgusting. So with the girlfriend, we did the dude, and I'm laying there, I was like, oh, this is lovely. This is amazing. And didn't worry about going to take a shower, went for round two and whatnot. So after I had that experience is when I went to my mom. Before I went to my mom, I went to my elementary best friend. And I told her and I was like, hey, I think I'm gay. And she completely stopped talking to me. Like there was no more communication, none of that. And I was just like, I was hurt by that. So the next person I told was the high school, my middle school, high school best friend. And she was completely accepting of it and everything. The next person I decided to tell was my mom. Whew, Lord.
Oh Lord.
I went to my mom like this. I was like, Mom, I'm not saying I'm gay or anything. If anything, I'm bisexual, da 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 da. This is right before I'm leaving to go to UT Martin. I started off at a 2-year community college and then I transferred to a university. And so I was like, I'm not saying that I'm gay, but I'm gonna at least say I'm bisexual, but I do have an attraction to women. This is unacceptable. You're gonna go to hell. Either you change your ways by the beginning of next month or you can get out of my house.
Oh man.
Wow. So I knew in August, this was around June, July, I just graduated June. This was in June. And I was like, okay, so what the heck do I do? So basically I suppressed it until I left for UT Martin.
Okay.
I left for UT Martin. Before I left for UT Martin, I decided to come out to my aunt, my favorite aunt. And her reaction made me feel so much better. I told her, and I was like, hey, aunt, mama pretty much disowned me, but I'm gonna let you know that I'm gay. And she was like, I know, I already knew. I was like, how you know? And I wasn't even sure. And she was like, it's your mannerism, the way you carry yourself. I knew. And that made me feel so much better. It was so much more welcoming. I left and went to UT Martin, did 2 semesters, and summertime comes around. And the church we were going to, my mom was like, hey, everybody's getting their children home for summer. Why didn't you tell me? I was like, I'm not coming home. And I left UT Martin and went to stay with some gay friends, a gay friend of mine and his boyfriend in Arkansas. And I didn't go back home. And that really hurt her, and she realized, hey, either I'm gonna have to accept this or I'm gonna lose my daughter. I've already lost my son to a drowning. I won't have any children. So over the years, she slowly but surely began to accept it. I eventually had to come back home after she had some a real bad back surgery and help take care of her. And she began to accept it at that point.
I'm really glad to hear that she evolved and that the relationship, evolved. There's one thing that you said that I want to tap into, and then Tristan, I'm going to get back to you. You said that you kind of suppressed your attraction for women. Was that out of fear of the reactions you would get from your family, from society? Like, where did that urge to suppress come from?
More so my mother. Not necessarily the family, but my mother. I was fearful of my mother. My mom was like a military parent without being in the military. Like, she was very hard on us.
Okay.
So, I mean, to the point that in high school, she was the whole pregnancy thing. If you come home pregnant, I'm gonna beat your ass. I'm gonna beat you until you're not pregnant. So, that put fear in me, like, oh, okay, I know I ain't gonna have sex with no dude because that's where pregnancy come from. So, yeah, I started I just suppressed it. And when I say suppressed, I was basically single. I didn't say anything about, me having a girlfriend. I didn't say anything about, me having a boyfriend, anything. I just basically kept quiet. But when I got to UT Martin, oh man, it was a whole different story.
Carry on.
I'm cracking. Wow. Well, thank you guys, because I know that these are like incredibly personal conversations to have, but that's why I knew I could bring you two on. You've always been open books, very transparent, and I feel like that's what we need. These conversations are not really happening out loud, particularly in the sickle cell community. So I'm really grateful that you guys feel comfortable to come on this platform and that you trust me to get this out of you. I want to get into kind of like the barriers. Obviously, we know that as sickle cell warriors, we deal with stigma and all types of barriers from family, friends, the medical community. And so I'm curious to know, do you guys feel that there are barriers that we may not be aware of that you face because you are a part of the LGBTQIA plus community?
Definitely. I just know from personal experience and also listening to other warriors of the LGBTQ SCD community, and hearing their stories, that there is definitely a different standard of care that we get as opposed to the heteronormative patients. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, at one point I was with the doctor, and it was like right after I transitioned from pediatric care to adult care, and I was trying to find a forever primary care doctor or hematologist. And I knew this doctor was not the one for me because, first of all, he asked me what I was. And I'm like, well, clearly on the chart, you can see that it says male, even though, you know, I'm very androgynous. So that means I can look, you know, depending on my hair, what I'm wearing, I can look either very masculine or very feminine. But because he asked me that, I was just like, that's one. And then the other thing, he was like, I just don't know, you know, going forward with your care, how exactly I'm going to present, you know, your specific case to others. And I'm just like, what does that mean? I'm a man with sickle cell. Like, you know what sickle cell is. Like, it's not that hidden that, you know, we've been doing this for a minute, and I've been in the system for a minute, just on the pediatric side. Like, I'm still that same person. I'm just going to adult care. So that was like a no, because he just didn't seem like he was going to give me, he wasn't looking at me as needing the same kind of care and treatment as a very masculine hetero man, you know what I mean, with sickle cell would need. So that was completely, that threw me off. And then listening to another warrior who is actually going through transition right now, they told me that their doctor refused to give them the proper hormones and the proper treatments that they needed along with their sickle cell care, because they didn't believe in their transition and would not refer to them as the proper pronoun they wanted to be. And they were just going to get a whole different standard of care, because everybody knows when you transition, your body is going through changes, which ultimately affects, you know, your blood and how you grow and develop. You know what I mean? So that right there, intertwined with sickle cell, like you have to have a whole good understanding of, like, the doctor has to be on board.
Right.
What I'm saying. So if that doctor was only going to, like, you know, treat them as the gender they were born into and not the gender trying to become, that's an issue, because their standard of care and the way they grow and develop, especially in, you know, the years that they're in, is so important, you know what I mean, to their development. So I was just like, that was just like another triggering factor. Like, we don't get the same, I feel like we don't get the same treatment and the same looks from certain physicians. I'm not saying all physicians, because now, thank God, I have a great care team, from my primary care doctor to my hematologist to, you know what I mean, X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Like, I found my tribe of doctors, my community, but there are other doctors out there who don't want to accept the LGBTQ side of things. And especially, like, when you get these old school doctors, you know what I mean, the old school doctors, they're just like, no, it's this way, or, you know, you go find another person. That wasn't a thing, because I was like, I'm cool, like, I'll go find the person that I need, and I did, thank God. But for somebody coming behind me that, you know, needs a different kind of standard of care, and the doctor's not willing to give them that same kind of care, like, that's not okay. So
And I'm glad that you brought up that particular warrior that you know who was going through transition, because that's definitely something that's on my radar. Because you know we plan to do all of this education next year, and I have had someone tell me that, like, the hormones send them into a crisis. And I think one of the reasons that I was particularly interested in doing this interview with the two of you is that reproductive health touches everyone. Like, when I first started the organization, people thought that I was just trying to get every woman with sickle cell pregnant, and that's not the case. Like, if you want children, if you don't want a child, gay, straight, bisexual, like whatever, there's a place for you in SC Red. So I want to make sure from the CEO standpoint that I am all inclusive and that we, cater to the needs of everybody affected by sickle cell in this community. So I really appreciate you for always like educating me. April, what about you? Do you feel like there's any like barriers or additional stigma that you faced because you are a lesbian in the sickle cell community?
With me being a woman, a lesbian, and having sickle cell, I have to say I've been blessed. Um, I was blessed to leave, pediatric care, going into adult care with an amazing hematologist.
Oh, wow.
And I've been with that hematologist until she just recently retired. And Dr. Graves don't play about her patients.
Shout out to Dr. Graves. I met her when
Yeah,
I was like 13.
yeah. She does not play about her patients. She doesn't play about sickle cell. And that's one thing that she made sure that I was aware of, that I was comfortable with her caring for me. And she was always vigilant and careful of the terminology she used,
Mm,
and made sure that, everyone respected me, in the clinic. Not just the clinic, but, the hospital as well.
yeah.
Um, like I said, I haven't had any barriers. I mean, like Tristan said, yeah, I noticed the stares.
Hmm.
I noticed the questioning look. And I've had, some question, are you a man or a woman?
Hmm.
When I was younger, I did get offended at that. But I was young and naive and had to realize you are dressing masculine. So how can you get offended if someone says he instead of she? Um, but other than that, I mean, outside of the medical, as far as the medical community and the sickle cell community, I haven't faced any barriers. Um, I've had discrimination of course, just from the community itself, not the sickle cell or LGBT community, but just the community in general. Um,
Okay.
but as far as medical, the only issue I have is them asking me if I'm pregnant. And of course, they got to do that. And I just tell them, look at me. Do I look like I would be pregnant? But other than that, there have not been any barriers for me.
Hmm. Well, I think that both of you know enough about my story, particularly you, Tristan, to know that like basically the whole inspiration behind starting SC Red was, my own struggles with infertility post bone marrow transplant. So I'm curious, I'm saying that to say that like for me, family planning comes up all the time. Am I gonna do IVF? Am I gonna adopt, use a surrogate, all of that? And forgive me if this is like too personal because I know I didn't give you this question in the when I sent you the email, but where are you guys with that? Do you have plans to expand your family and have you thought about, what resources that will take?
Yeah, I know for me and my husband, definitely we are at the place now where we definitely want to grow our family. And I feel like the best way to do that, which I'm so thankful for SC Red, because it's just adding so much, sauce to the game, like, and it's going to help so much with my next step in planning my family. So we are definitely going to be pursuing surrogacy.
Okay.
In saying that, I want to make sure that, because I know what I went through as a child, I know what we go through as sickle cell warriors.
Hmm.
I want to make sure that I cover all my bases. If there's a way for me to make sure that, number one, I'm passing off all healthy
Yeah.
parts of myself, you know what I mean? That's important. And number two, that I'm just giving that my children the fighting chance they need, you know what I mean? So finding the right surrogate is going to be key. And also with me, I know that I need to find the right doctor and team to make sure that they not only check my specimen once, but twice, and maybe three times over, to make sure that only the healthiest parts are, being transmitted, you know what I mean, from my specimen and my, you know what I mean? So that's where we're focusing on. So yeah, but I'm so glad you asked that question, because honestly, like, and I'm going into my 40s, you know what I mean? Like I'll be 40 in June. And
looking 30.
thank you. Thank you. But at this point, like, family is so important, and I'm just like so focused in on that I just know, like, this and this is what I want to gain, that super strong family that I need. So I always say, I've been saying this from the start, I'm going to have healthy fraternal twins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that is just out there. And I'm speaking that into the universe. I'm speaking that into existence.
Claiming it for you.
Exactly. So that's what I want.
What you're talking about, it's called IVF with pre-implementation genetic testing.
Okay.
And so I have an educational tool that I've been meaning to put out about this. And one of the things that we are doing at SC Red, there's this whole advocacy piece to this. So it's not just about getting insurance to cover fertility preservation, but also IVF with PGT. So that, like you said, you can, and I'm glad that you're so informed and you know that that's what you want. And so that is something that I am advocating. My team, we're advocating that pre-implementation genetic testing be covered. April, I don't know if you heard the question or not.
I did. My apologies, my phone died.
It's okay.
But yes. So my thing about reproduction started at a really early age. So it started when Octomom came out and had those 8 babies. And I was like, oh yeah, I want twins, I want triplets, I want quads, right?
Yeah.
But as I got older and I seen what my mom was going through with me having sickle cell, what I was dealing with sickle cell, and I took a more approach as I don't want children. I love children. It was like on the fence. I want them, but I don't. My thing is, I didn't want to pass off sickle cell, number one. Number two, when I'm sick and in the hospital, no one is going to care for my child the way I am.
Right.
So I had an issue with that. And again, yes, I had my mother, but I know how my mother was with, as I've got an adult, and I can only assume she was the same way when we were children. She was abusive. I mean, there's no way around it. I remember she was watching her great nephew, which her nephew's son, he was a baby. And the baby wouldn't stop crying. And she's just popping the child, like pop it, pop, pop, shut up, shut up.
Oh no.
It's a baby. So I took the child, at the time I had my first hip replacement.
Okay.
So I hopped in there and I got the child, took the child to my room and calmed the baby down and, everything. But with me seeing that further solidified, no, I'm not going to bring a child into this world, especially with a grandmother like that. I can't trust you to watch my child. And if I can't trust my mama to watch my child, I'm definitely not going to trust nobody else.
Yeah.
So as I got older, I'm like, okay, there's still that maternal instinct. I still want a baby. But I didn't have a partner at the time. I was still dating. So now that I have a wife / partner, the thought now with my age, when I was younger, my whole plan was this. I was going to get a partner, have a wife. We're going to take her egg, get a donor, plant it into me. She's the biological mother. I'm the birth mother.
I love that.
Second child would take my egg, same sperm donor, and implant it into her. I'm the birth mother. I'm the biological mother. She would be the birth mother.
And they're still
That was my
siblings.
plan. Yes, that was my plan. That was the perfect dream for me. Well, when we got married, of course, we're both up there in age. She's older than I am. So we went through the whole fertility thing on her end.
Mhm.
And it's very expensive. I didn't realize sperm was so expensive. And so we didn't end up going through with that. The next thing was adoption,
Mhm.
foster care. Um, I'm in the mindset now, I'm up there in age, I'm good.
Mhm.
I love children. My cousins and siblings or play siblings are having children. My godchildren are having children, so I'm a god grandmother. So I'm good as far as the babies. Um, and then there's a discrepancy between me and my wife. If we were to adopt or get a child, she wants a child that is around 8, 9 years old. I don't.
Mhm.
I want a child that is a baby,
A newborn. Yeah.
3 to 6, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a newborn, but
Oh, okay.
3 to 6 months, newborn to 6 months of age is where I would like to get the child if we're going to adopt.
Mhm.
Again, I have that more maternal instinct. I want to build that motherly bond.
Right.
It's not saying that it can't be built with a 9-year-old. It would be more difficult because that 9-year-old knows who its parents are. It has been through some things.
Yeah.
So, but with a infant, it I can establish that bond at an early age. So now there's a discrepancy, and I told her it's like she wants kids, but she don't like children. Um, so I told her, I was like, babe, look, we're good. I mean, we've got enough children in our life. Your nieces, we've got her children, which I think y'all may have seen me with them, Aiden and DJ. We
Okay.
have them so often that they're like our own.
Okay.
So I'm like, we're good. But I would have loved to have had my dream sibling children of our own. I would love to have had that happen. So but yeah, that wasn't in the cards for me.
And I love that we're having this conversation because I feel like number one, this is what SC Red is all about, like options. And you know, how I'm gonna be a mother may not look like everybody else, but I just will say that from what I know of the two of you, I know that any child added to your life, added to your family will be incredibly blessed. So I
Thank you.
wanted to
Thank
put that
you.
out there. And I'm going through the same thing now, deciding on surrogacy, adoption, all of that. So I'm glad that all of us get to have these conversations, and I'm excited to see, what God has in store. But
That part.
as we kind of bring this to a close, I feel like we could have this conversation for hours. I think that I kind of want to give you guys the floor. Is there a call to action that you have for me as the CEO of SC Red, for the doctors in this community, for the warriors in this community? Like, what should we know? What can we improve on as far as being more inclusive?
So I think that you are just killing it first and foremost. Like SC Red is so needed. It's so amazing that you even did this. So like first and foremost, let me just give you your flowers because you deserve them all. Okay. As far as like going forward, I think what we need is to just kind of bridge the gap between the SCD community and the LGBTQ SCD community. And what I mean by that is that we need to, acknowledge that at some point, and I'm just going to speak very blunt here because, you know, straight people have gay kids, right? We know
Mhm.
this. I mean, April and I are living proof among like all the other LGBTQ people in the world. You know what I mean? Straight people have gay kids. So
Yeah.
me saying that, I just need the sickle cell community to realize that we are so necessary and so important to the growth and continuation of the SCD community, because at some point your child who you might be raising right now, and you being in the mind frame that, oh, well, not my child, or, you know what I mean, I'm not, how some parents, disown whatever, and they say the most discouraging stuff, and their kids are hearing this, but they don't know if that child that is listening and is growing up right now and coming up under them is actually LGBTQ. And how is that child going to feel comfortable, you know what I mean, even approaching them when they're hearing all this rhetoric in their household about, oh, gay is wrong, and you know what I mean, like, oh, I'll disown you, or F that, F, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say the words, but you know what I'm saying. But they need to understand that you might be raising LGBTQ kids, and right now it is so important for them to see people, us, that look like them, so they know that you have a place in this community. You have a place in this world. You know what I mean? We're not the only ones. We're not going to be the only ones. And we just need the SCD community as a whole to recognize that we are here to not only advocate for the SCD community, but also to advocate for the LGBTQ SCD community, because they are amongst us, and they are, coming up behind us, some way, some shape, some form. Like, they are already, the next generation is out there, and they're come up. So them seeing us is going to make them that much more comfortable and be like, oh, it's okay. And now I know that this person right here, I recognize them, and they feel similar, or have a similar story to me, so I can go to them and communicate. You know what I mean? Not only me, but April and other LGBTQ warriors that are in the community right now. You know what I mean? They might see something and recognize something in themselves, and that way be that much more comfortable when it's that time to come out of the closet or tell their coming of age story. You know what I mean? And I just need the SCD community as a whole to recognize how important it is for us to build this bridge right now, and just continue on advocating as a whole. My main message.
And this is what I want to tap into a little more. I know we say we were closing, but I can't help it. You're saying that we need to bridge the gap, and that the community needs to basically recognize, like, we're here. And that's the broader mission of SC Red. I think that for so long, we've had to just focus on survival, education. But now that we are living longer, it's no longer enough to just have conversations about survival. We want the best quality of life. And so that's my thing too, is like, we're whole people. So we want children, we don't want children, but we want to have options. And we want to know how we can have sex without going into a pain crisis. It's all of that. It's all encompassing. So I guess what I want to know from you is, like, do you guys feel like the SCD community specifically has left you guys behind? Or is that just the Black community? Is that just the United States? Like, what do you think about that?
April, why don't you go first? Because I spoke first last time, and then I'll follow you say.
Well, I was kind of stuck on the call to action.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can do your call to action, and then we can.
And then I'll answer that one. My call to action for the medical community, the SCD community. Tristan gave you your flowers, Tiana. You are amazing, and you're very open-minded. And that is my call to action for doctors and everyone. Open your mind.
Okay.
Open your mind. Don't be so closed-minded about individuality. Everyone is different. I mean, right. And it's just, it can't get any more simpler than that. Just open your mind. Don't be so closed-minded and closed off as to where you're not accepting someone because they are LGBTQ+. that person could be the best blessing in your life. And because you're closed-minded, you're cutting off your blessing.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that.
Now I'm gonna need you to repeat the other question.
I was just gonna say I forgot the question, but I know it was gonna be like, I think it was gonna be really vital that we address this. And I guess what I want to know is, do you feel like the sickle cell community specifically has not been inclusive of the LGBTQ plus community? Or is that broader? Is it the Black community? Is it the church? Is it the United States? I guess I'm trying to know from you guys, with what you experience, is this something that is an issue, particularly in the sickle cell community?
In my opinion, it's an issue everywhere.
Right.
In the church. We've been left behind by the Black community. We've been left behind by the sickle cell community. And that's just my opinion. I've had so much church hurt. I don't do it anymore. I'm not a church person. I'm very spiritual. I believe in a higher being and all that. But as far as going to church, I'm done. But yeah, we've definitely been left behind. Now, the heteronormative Black community has definitely left us behind. But us in the LGBTQ Black community have band together. We tend to, have each other's back. Gay, straight, transgender. Because I've got straight friends that are allied. If you're a part of the LGBTQ plus community, and that's including allies, we have each other's back. And just like siblings, blood siblings, we fight amongst each other.
Right.
But at the same time, it takes adults to come together. Hey, that's an issue. Let's talk it out and move on. But as far as, us being left behind, yeah, we've definitely been left behind. It's just like, it's almost like we're seen but not seen, if that makes sense. Like, I see you, but I don't want to deal with you type.
Yeah, kind of like seen but not heard.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you, Tristan? What do you think?
So I think that there's levels, you know what I mean? Because there's some in the SCD community that really get it and understand, and they're trying to do their best to, you know what I mean, be inclusive and bring us along and include us and all that stuff, which is amazing. And then there's others that are just like, that's not us, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have people like that in our community. And that might just go again with the whole, church and kind of Black community thinking. But I will say that, yeah, it's like 50-50, you know what I mean? Like, you have some of the SCD community who tries and really does an amazing job to be inclusive, and then others who are just like, like, just stay over there and don't really look this way, don't really, you know what I mean, make too much noise, and don't even let people know that you're really with us, because we don't rock with you like that. We rock with your sickle cell, and I've been told that
Right.
we rock with your sickle cell and we respect that, but that lifestyle that you lead, that we're not. Yeah, so like I said, it's 50-50. But I do hope that, it becomes all inclusive. And I do hope that, that's just in general, you know what I mean? I hope it becomes all inclusive in the Black community, the SCD community, and just the world overall. I think in the US, it's different because there's so many of us, you know what I mean, in the LGBTQ community, and it's undeniable. But then you go across waters, you know what I mean, and it's just, kind of that don't ask, don't tell thing still.
Exactly. Yes.
Gays are still not allowed in some certain countries, in some areas of this world, to even go and be safe because you would be killed on sight. You know, that's not okay. So I think there's still much room to grow. Over here, it's like we're safe, but we still need to have like that bonding factor, if that makes sense.
Yeah, more sense of community.
Right. So
Okay. Well, I just want to go on record and say on this platform that I am a church girl, raised in the Baptist church. I am saved. And I think that, you know, I definitely was not raised by my family, because my family's always been inclusive. But I mean, I did hear in the church that being gay is abomination. And I was so impressionable when I was hearing that. So there was a time when I believed that. But I do want to say to the two of you, to whoever's listening, that I hope that you will consider not just me, myself, but to consider SC Red as an ally. We're here to support, and I don't want to make it about me or the organization. So I want to give you guys the opportunity to give any closing words.
Yeah, and I'm the same way with you, Tiana. Like, I was raised in the church, the Baptist church, you know what I mean? Like, I was there Sunday morning, Sunday evening, like Wednesday
Bible study,
vacation Bible school.
Yes, like,
yes, all of it.
Cross around my neck. I am a Christian. They called me Tristan the Christian because that's what I am. That's who I am. That's still a part of me. It's just that I am also a gay man, and that's just what it is. So that whole, you know, rhetoric about, oh, you're gonna burn and all that stuff, no, because what is God? God is love, and that's just period. It's just period.
Love it. April, what about you? Any closing words?
I mean, just love, man. Tristan said it best. God is love. If we can just love each other, truly love each other unconditionally, the world will be so much of a better place.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. Well, thank you guys. I know that it's been impactful and inspiring for me. And I know that it will resonate with a lot of people. So thank you again for joining us.
No problem. And before we go, I just have to break down LGBTQ again.
Okay.
So, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual.
I'm glad you said that, because do some people make the Q questioning?
It is. It's also questioning.
Yeah, but overall, it's like queer is like the, you know what I mean? So, but it could be questioning or queer, but the Q is usually for either or.
So what's the difference? Now we got to get back into it. So
yes.
What's the difference? Because I thought that queer, and I know I'm ignorant, I thought that queer meant gay. So what is queer?
Queer, I think, is like, it's not exactly gay. It's like a touch. You know what I mean? Like, it's somebody who is a little more on the
questioning side.
Okay.
It's somebody who is more like free in their thoughts and their body, you know what I mean, in their sexuality.
So like sexually fluid.
Yes, queer is like that. It's fluid.
Okay, so they're not necessarily gay, lesbian, trans, they just
right.
Oh, I love it.
It's them.
Okay, I'm glad you cleared that up, because I've always wondered, like, what exactly is queer? But okay, I got you. Well, listen, this was so beautiful. Thank you again, and I look forward to collaborating with you to make sure that SC Red is as inclusive as possible.
Yes, and you know we rock with you, T, forever.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Absolutely.